This episode is brought to you by Hasa. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to kind of give you an idea of some things that you can learn from other industries and kind of apply them to your pool service business. And I deal with a lot of vendors in other fields, and I think this is very applicable in your pool service business. Some of the things that they do right really translate well directly into pool service. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. And I think the #1 thing that you can take from this would be the fact that companies that answer their phones and return messages are the ones that actually are very successful. You probably have seen this if you go online and you're looking for maybe a new plumber or an electrician, and you go to Yelp and you see these 1-star reviews, and a lot of them are like, yeah, I called the place 5 times, they never answered, or they said they were going to call me back and they never called me back. Don't do business with this company. And a lot of these, of course, you have to take with a grain of salt because, giving a business a 1-star review because they're not responding to you, is that actually legitimate, something that you should be doing? Probably not, but people do it and they are up there and then they can't be taken down. And so you'll see all these over the internet, these 1-star reviews for companies that are not responsive. I think this is an important factor because you may not be able to compare this to pool service companies. A lot of them aren't listed on Yelp or Google reviews, and so there's no way to kind of gauge your competitors or what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And so you have to kind of go out into other industries that do have a more vigorous online presence, like plumbers and electricians and landscapers, because there's a lot of pool companies that are under the radar. So what do these other companies do well that you can apply to pool service? Well, #1, answer your phone, return messages. Even if it's a generic, I'll call you back later, out in the field right now. Anything like that is important to keep that communication window open. Another problem, I think, is you have to realize that when someone's looking for a new vendor, they want to get a hold of that person right away in some form of connection. In other words, if they're calling your company, let's just say you're Sky Blue Pools, and they get your number off the internet and they call you and the phone rings and they get a message, hi, this is Sky Blue Pools and we're not available right now. They'll hang up the phone 95% of the time. I don't know if that's an accurate statistic, but I do, like 95% of the time, hang up and I'll call the next person, Crystal Clear Blue Pools. I'll call them and they'll pick up the phone and then, hi, I was just wondering if you can give me a bid for pool service. Now, I know that sounds really harsh, that because you missed a call, your competitor gets the business. But that's just the reality of a customer looking for a vendor. They just don't have the patience, and this is kind of a bad thing with the way society has gotten nowadays. I grew up in the 80s when there were no cell phones. There's no way to get a hold of your friend except like leaving a note on the front door. It's like, hey, I stopped by today at 12:30, come over to my house and, or whatever. And you can call them, I guess, but, then it's really weird. You have this answering machine with this cassette tape in it, and you got to kind of rewind it and hit play. This is like ancient technology. The note on the front door, you tell your friend's mom, hey, have Billy come by. That's kind of the only way to get things done. And so you just sit there and wait. But we can't do that nowadays, because if you text somebody, you don't get a response within like 5 minutes, you would like retext them with a question mark. It's kind of irritating when people do that, by the way. But they want instant results. And so if you don't answer your phone or find some way to capture those calls. Now, a lot of these vendors that I deal with, they use their spouse or a relative that answers phones for them. Highly effective. Answering text messages as well. It's a highly effective way to capture business. And I think my appliance repair guy and my handyman use their spouse, and every time I call them or text them, they text me back or they answer their phone. Like 90% of the time they answer their phone, and if not, they text me back within like 5 minutes. Really great business models and something that's highly effective. And if you do that in your pool business, maybe a relative, someone who can actually be there to answer the phone. Now, I'm not talking, for them to answer the phone after business hours, like 8 o'clock at night or 6 in the morning. But during normal business hours, when people are actually calling you, which is most people will try to call for service during your business hours, or most business hours are from 8:30 to 5 p.m., and most people are going to call you at that time. And so being able to capture that is going to move your business to the next level in a lot of cases. And the reason I spent 5 minutes on this topic is because it is the number one way to capture leads, in my opinion. If you're advertising and people are calling you or texting you and you're not getting a response, then you're never going to capture that lead. It sounds logical and simple, but I find that a lot of businesses fail to do this, even outside the industry, and especially I think in the pool industry. If you're trying to expand, be proactive and answer those calls. Another thing that I talk about a lot is looking professional. Now, this is something that you may not think is a big factor or a big deal to people, but put yourself in this situation. You call a plumber. The first guy shows up in a truck that looks like it's from the A-Team TV show, back in the 80s. That's when that was out. Or maybe, I think it was 80s. And, the van's all beat up. It's like black smoke's coming out of the tail, out of the exhaust. And the guy gets out in a t-shirt. It's all filthy. You don't know what's on there. And he's like, hey, this is Mike's Plumbing. You had a problem? And then the other guy shows up. He has a really nice service truck with his logo on there. He's wearing this uniform, name tag. He looks clean. Which plumber would you hire? So I don't think it's appropriate to say that looking good or your image doesn't matter in pool service. It matters a ton, and it's something that people aren't going to say anything to you because it's not polite. But in reality, if you look disheveled, they're going to think that you're not doing a very good job doing pool service. I remember that I was talking to one of the Hayward reps, and he told me that at the headquarters, there's two things that they do when they're looking for a potential employee. This was way back in the day when they had a single owner, old school guy. He didn't even have a cell phone. Hayward's, of course, he passed away, and so it's not the same owner. But he would do these things to kind of gauge employees. Number one, there's like a path on the entranceway to the Hayward headquarters, and there's grass on both sides. And the easiest way to get there is just to walk across the grass and go to the front door. So whoever walked across the grass and not walked on the cement path, they would get a check mark off right there to begin with. And then they would walk you out to your vehicle, to your truck or wherever your car, and they would do this just to continue the interview and conversation. But they wanted to see how your vehicle was. Was it messy, disheveled, dirty, bugs on the windshield? The interior has like fast food cups from like 3 days ago or different restaurants. And they would gauge you that way also. And this is kind of how they pick their employees. And it's actually sounds really effective to me, because you come in there with your suit and you're looking good, but how's your vehicle, or do you cut corners? And these are all aspects of looking good for the customer. So one of the things that a lot of companies do really well, they have clean trucks, they don't have fast food cups in there, they have a nice uniform, and you can actually replicate this in your pool service. Now, I'm not saying that you should go to the car wash every day, but your car should look good, newer model. I don't think you should be driving a 25-year-old truck that's all beat up, that's not going to get you a lot of customers that you really want to retain, I should say. And getting a uniform is really simple and easy. You can just about go anywhere and get uniforms made. And it's something that's going to set you apart and make you more professional with the client. And it's going to give you the ability to get service accounts much easier than if you didn't have that image that a lot of these good companies portray out there. HVAC companies, plumbers, that look good for a reason. And the Pool Guy Podcast Show has teamed up with UPA to bring you affordable, reliable liability insurance starting at just $64 a month. Get up to $2 million in coverage, and the members of my coaching group get an even lower rate. Protect your business and your peace of mind. Sign up with UPA today by clicking the link in the podcast description. And I was recently talking to Skimmer about this aspect, that a lot of these other companies like HVAC, plumbers, landscapers don't have a robust software ability, or the availability, I should say, of software like Skimmer to do routing and to send messages and do the invoicing through. And they rely on a lot of different old school technologies of invoicing. But there are some people that do it really well out there. And so the reason I bring this up, this is also one aspect that you can really take your business to the next level. Is how you invoice your customers, how you present bids to the customers. And the services that I use, or the people that I use, really give good bids and they look really professional. And I'm not saying that if you don't have professional invoices or professional bids drawn up, you're not going to get the job. I think it gives you the edge over someone else for sure. Once you get to know the person, maybe, you overlook these things. But if you don't know the company at all and you're getting a new vendor, it's kind of important that their bill and their invoice and their bid is something that you can easily digest, and it's something that looks good to you. I mean, it's clear. If someone gives you like a carbon copy invoice and it's handwritten and you can't even read what they're writing, and someone else has a computer printout with so much detail, that company with the detailed information is going to, of course, win. And that's why I have like a service agreement. It's a one-page, really simple service agreement. You can actually get a copy if you email me. It's david@swimmingpoollearning.com, and I can send you a copy of my one-page service agreement. And I think it's a really clear way of showing a professional. It's not really a contract technically, but it does give the customer ideas of what you're going to do at the pool, or what you're responsible for and what they're responsible for. And it just makes you look professional. Now, when you're doing a bid, you of course want to maybe have a template where you could type stuff up and submit it to the customer so that everything is kind of easy to read. I used to use a contractor. He moved to Arizona, but his bids were so detailed that he even had like the price of the screws he's using. It was like an incredibly detailed invoice, and I kind of miss him. He was a great contractor, and the way he wrote everything up was just spectacular. And this is something that you can do in your business pretty easily. You can create templates, you can create your logo on there, different things, and just make yourself look like a professional company with really good paperwork, if that makes sense. And again, it's really difficult to gauge your competitors out there because a lot of pool companies don't have a really huge online presence, and so there's no way of seeing, if Bill's Pool Service or Splash Pool Service is doing a good job, and if you can kind of cut into their market. But one thing you can do, and this is something that I think is also critical, is people like it when you show up, when you say you're going to show up for a bid and show up on time. It just shows some respect for the customer's time. If you're the same way, if you're in a waiting room for your doctor or a dentist and you have an 11 a.m. appointment and you're sitting there and it's like 11:30 already, you feel agitated, not because you're waiting past your appointment time, but I think a lot of that is the fact that you feel like they don't respect your time. Like 30 minutes of your day is wasted waiting for them, and they don't care about your time. And that's kind of the same way someone feels when you say, I'll be there at 11 a.m. to do the bid for you, and I'll let you know how much service will be. And it's 11:10, 11:15, you're still not there. Now, if you're stuck in traffic, messaging them is fine. I'm going to be a few minutes late. That's appropriate. I've had vendors do that before, and I've had long-term relationship with people that were late for their appointments, and they let me know they're late for a good reason. But if you are consistently late for appointments, or if you say you're going to do something for the customer and don't do it, don't follow through at a certain time, that's a problem. And that's a problem that's going to affect your business, because people are busy, and you have to be a respecter of their time. And so if you're late, it's not the fact that you're busy, it's the fact that you don't respect the other person's time. And companies that say they're going to be there at 11 and they show up at 11 are the companies that I hire. When I'm making an appointment for a tenant and they say they're going to be there at 1 o'clock, they usually are there at 1 o'clock because they know that that's what I expect of them to work for me. And the same thing for your pool service. Any kind of thing that you're doing, any kind of appointment you set with the customer, you really should be cognizant of your time and of their time. And if you're late for a bid, you're already off to a bad start. Everything kind of adds up to how they perceive your company, whether you answer your phone, whether you look good or presentable, how your paperwork looks, and if you show up on time. These are all basic things that if you look on Yelp for a plumber or electrician, you're going to see all the reviews of them, and you're going to see people saying, hey, they didn't make it until like half an hour late, or they didn't, the invoice, I couldn't figure out what they were billing me for. All these things are marked against those companies, and if you do these things correctly, you can really expand, and you can basically, conquer a market in your area just by doing these basic things that other successful companies do in other industries. Like a successful plumber or HVAC company is going to implement all these things I talked about here, and you can do exactly the same thing in your pool service business. If you're looking for other podcasts, you can find those by going to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon. There'll be a drop-down menu of over 1,800 podcasts for you there. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.